Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to another Chris Chan article. And specifically, well, this one's going to be quite a lot shorter than normal because I think the actual mystery, or rather the reason why this is referred to as the black. I think it's probably the most interesting aspect of this. But for those not in the know, let's get to why this is referred to as the black tape. So, the black tape is the unofficial name given to an audio recording of a Skype call between Chris, Jackie, and some other trolls that involved Chris being emotionally distraught at the death of his father. Sometime between the 7th and 8th of September of 2011, Marvin and the other trolls attempted to contact Chris over the phone shortly after Bob's death for unclear reasons. And Chris was noted to be audibly upset as he cried throughout the conversation. While the audio was recorded and archived, the call was deemed to be so upsetting and morose that the trolls who had their call in their possession opted to never release it to the public. What makes this stand out is that the trolls who participated in the call realized after the fact that it was simply too soon to try to reach out to Chris in this fashion, and, for a change, opted to respect his privacy for once. The black tape either still exists in his hands in the hands of the trolls who participated in its creation, or it has been simply lost to time. The Jackie email. On the 9th of June 2013, Marvin leaked the very last email that Chris had sent to Jackie, where he inexplicably talks about the death of Bob. The next day, Marvin then answered in response to a user's comment. As for the rest of the Jackie emails, I hope they illustrate how Chris felt about Bob's death a little bit more. Marvin has said numerous times that Bob's death really messed up Chris, but it's been hard to see. Even this email could be seen as Chris being angry at the Reaper for breaking his promise rather than him being devastated by his father's death. He kind of got worse past this point. Hell, he might have been worse before it too, and just calmed down a bit to bitch about the broken promise. I don't remember the details. He was sobbing at times, though. I do remember that. The topic was then split to a separate thread by Form Administration, in which users discussed the unreleased call. In response to a user's comment, "You heard him?" Yes. The other user replied, "The implications, can we get to know more?" Another user commented, "I would guess some evil trolls hacked Jackie's Skype and listened in. I also doubt any of that would ever be released as there's no humor, and I think even OPL goes to have some privacy when he grieves." Marvin replied, "This, that stuff's not getting out." The interview with Marvin. Marvin had given further details about the tape on the 14th of July of 2025 after a Kiwi Farms user, Osama bin Laden user, asked him about it. "I know it's been 10 plus years ago at this point, but I am a bit curious about the black tape. I don't want specific details, but are you able to tell me what the vibe/mood was at the time for you and or Chris? Was Chris inconsolable at that point? I know he took Bob's death pretty hard, but I guess I'm looking at it in a more insightful angle. Edit, I have found my answer. It's fine if you don't want to answer." Marvin. My memory of it is fuzzy today as well, but some details stuck. Yeah, he was pretty much inconsolable. Chris was a man child, and because Bob was the coddling parent, while Bob was sort of the hard ass, Chris sort of took Bob for granted up until the end. But he really loved Bob for more than I think even he realized it at the time until he was gone. The thing was, like, sure, he'd cuddle with Bob and watch TV, but much of his daylight hours and time outside of the house were often spent socializing with Bob. They'd go out and get lunch or breakfast and sit and talk. Bob was his main social outside, aside from us. So when Bob died, and especially because Chris, being a naive manchild, didn't see it coming, it hit him like a ton of bricks. He was sobbing, like the sort of sobbing you see when really distraught people on the news during a crisis. The calls involved some chick or some of the guy trolls, talking to Chris over Skype, but streaming the call over to the group in real time, and invariably someone in the group would be recording from that live stream. This is where all recordings came from. So we were all sitting around, and sure, we figured out Chris would be a little sad, but we never expected a spectacle like that. So when it happened and the troll, forgot who it was, awkwardly consoled Chris and hung up, we agreed that that was one recording that would never needed to see the light of day. I'm sure it's floating around on an old hard drive in someone's basement somewhere, though none I have. I used to be a pretty spurgy digital hoarder, but I gave that up long ago. I'm sure whatever hard drive mine had is dead and in a landfill somewhere. Probably an old SATA drive considering the time frame. Thanks for your insightful answer. That's the kind of vibe I got from reading the email you posted. I read it and thought, I feel like Chris would cry like how a mother loses a child kind of war cry. I felt that Chris would scream and cry in a way that would know it fucked him up. I guess my last question is, do you know how long the call was? I am curious to know if it was an hour or the trolls talking to Chris, or was it a multi-hour thing listening to Chris cry about it? I think you guys made the right choice in not releasing it because I don't know how I would feel seeing Chris so emotional. Frankly, I think it might have been half an hour or less. It really took us by surprise, and the troll on the phone had nothing really to say to him. It was a lot of awkward silences. And yeah, that's right, by the way, because um I absolutely understand, by the way, why they decided not to release it. And to be honest, yeah, I think they showed tremendous level of tact and taste in not doing it. And I don't, even if it was ever released, I sincerely doubt anyone would want to listen to it because come on, that Chris just lost his dad. That's that I know there's a certain line you don't cross. I mean, there's interfering with Chris's life, and then there's well listening to Chris having to take on the harsh reality that he'll never see his dad again. Yeah, that you know what? I don't even feel like it needs to be stated anymore. So I congratulate the trolls and Marvin for not releasing it, and I just hope from this point onwards it remains lost to time. And with all that being said and done, I'll see all of you guys again at the next station. So, all aboard!